Odyssey has several components. We have a very active school where at any one time we will have 8 or so classes with up to 100 students, and with a full summer program as well. We have a residency program for pre-professional ceramists that is a competitive program. We have a community studio and studio rentals and a gallery. All of these things are very important to Odyssey does and how it functions. We also have a special classroom for children. We are dealing with people of every age. You can imagine what it takes to deal with all of the wear and completed work that comes through Odyssey. The children's program alone in the summertime produces a lot of work. We also have the residents and all the studio members, and we take work in from the outside as well, not to mention all of our classes. When we started Odyssey, we had 2 electric kilns. We now have 8 scut kilns ranging in size from 10 cubic feet up to 16. As you can imagine, trying to keep up with these firing, we do go through many tons of clay every year, and it all winds up going through these electric kilns at least once for bisquing, and oftentimes we do a lot of cone 6 firing as well. So when we were presented with the KilnLink program, we were thrilled. I can't tell you how easy it was to set this system up. We have all 8 of our kilns hook up to one box, which then connects to the internet. I can now access all of my kiln firings, what they're doing, whether they're idle or if they're firing, and check over the internet how they're doing. It's really terrific to be able to monitor what the kilns are doing while they're firing. For example, early on when we had this system, and I was checking the different kilns that were being fired, I discovered that somebody had programmed one of the kilns with an 8-hour preheat. Totally unnecessary. So we've been able to help educate people, our staff here and our students and our community studio people, on the most efficient way to fire the kilns. There is also a way for us to monitor how much each firing is costing us. It's very simple. The other thing that is really helpful is we can set up alerts so that if, for example, kiln shuts off, I can set it up to send me a message to my smartphone to let me know that there's been an interruption in the firing. Also, I can set up alerts. Let's say I'm a teacher and I want to get the kiln unloaded as soon as possible for my students that are coming in the afternoon. I don't have to guess when the kiln is going to be at the proper temperature to unload the kiln. I can have an alert set up to send to my smartphone to let me know that the kiln is at that temperature, or will be, or is at a certain temperature, so that I know when I get there I'm going to be able to open the kiln up and unload it. The alert function is fantastic. Take a look at what I have up on my computer monitor right now. This is what I see when I log in to myscut.com. On the left here it lists all of the kilns that we have and which ones are firing, which ones are idle, and which ones have just completed firing. Down below it lists which kiln it is. If I highlight a kiln up here, it lists which kiln it is down here and the specs for that kiln. Just to the right of that, we have 2 graphs that you can see. One is a plot that reveals what the actual controller setting was. The green one here shows how the kiln actually fired. And we can see by this that there was a delay put in right here, then the kiln started firing, and it followed this profile perfectly up to its finished temperature, turned off, and is now cooling. Over here on the right, we can see in the data that we had, how we had the kiln set, how we had the controller set. These are the current controller settings, and these were the different segments that it went through. In addition to that, I can go to the firing history on this or any one of the kilns, and I can click on any date where there was a firing going on, and it will pull that particular firing up here and the data for that particular firing here. And I can get a graph of what that firing was like and the profile of how that actually fired. So that's very helpful. In addition to that, I can go to diagnostics. So I can look across here and I can see the date of the firing. I can see in this case the firing was complete. And then I can look at the 3 different rings, and we can see how each of those rings and those elements, how many amps they're drawing. And we know what it's supposed to draw. So if we have variations on these numbers, it is perhaps time to change the elements. We can also check what the line voltage is, either with no load or with a load. In the past, we had to call in the power company to put a meter on our incoming line to double check what our line voltage is. Here, with the diagnostics, we can check on it instantly. If we have a kiln that's not getting up to temperature, we can usually come to these diagnostics and figure out why. In addition to this being an extraordinary tool for me, if I have further questions about any kind of technical information regarding this kilns, or something comes up on the screen that I'm not quite sure of, I can call SCUT, talk to their extraordinary technical department, and they can pull these my kilns up on their screens as well, and we can be looking at it and we can analyze it together. I've learned a lot that way. For access to this system, I'm set up as the administrator, and I can add as many people or as many users as I want to be able to log on and check on particular firings. So currently we have our school coordinator who has access to this system, and also our kiln tech. And our kiln tech can then monitor these kilns as closely as I can and do a great job in managing the firings of the kilns and the efficiency of their firings. Here at Odyssey, this system has been invaluable. We have budgets that we have to pay close attention to, and we have to manage our time as closely as possible. We have to be able to turn those kilns over as quickly as possible if we're going to run them as efficiently as we can. KilnLink gives us these opportunities. It's a great tool to be able to run a more efficient business and also to take care of our equipment in a much more efficient and a better way.